How's it going, guys? And I'm here with your Elimination Chamber review. And I gotta say that this was actually a pretty good pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. There wasn't a lot that I really hated, to be quite honest. There was good chamber matches. The women's chamber match was a pleasant surprise. I was actually entertained throughout. And best of all, this pay-per-view or this premium live event, as they're calling them now, which is so like manufactured and corporate sounding. But you gotta say, the 2 hour and 40 minutes, they went by like that. And for that, I have to thank Nick Khan, that the days of, monthly 3.5 hour pay-per-views made these things extremely hard to watch. One of the many reasons, why I took like a break during 2019 and through a lot of 2020. It's so hard to just get through these things, but we've stayed strong here. Basically no breaks through 2021, up until now, and I'm pretty happy with the way things are going on this channel. And these pay-per-views are more streamlined now. If you kind of think about it, I'm more positive about the pay-per-views than I am with like SmackDown and Raw. We don't even review, so how I already feel about that show. But I gotta say, like, the pay-per-views, they're very rarely terrible. Usually everyone puts in a good effort. I may complain about the way some matches go. There's too many near falls and stuff, but they haven't really done that as much. The biggest complaint I had was at Royal Rumble with the Roman Seth match with the laughing after the spear. But we're on to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. We've got basically this is the thing, that we've got a big, massive arena here, and it's kind of like, to me, sort of takes away from the mystique of like WrestleMania and the big stadium, because this Superdome is fucking huge. It's massive. It's actually a really beautiful venue to see, this show presented in. The fireworks outside, we even have fireworks after the Drew McIntyre match, where it's not even like a title match, but whatever. But we've got no Pat McAfee. We've got that old school Raw announce team, which I absolutely despise. Michael Cole. We've got Corey Graves and Byron Saxton. I always forget Corey Graves' name, because the guy, I can't stand the man. So with that in mind, we've got the first match here, and it's Roman versus Goldberg for the Universal title. And I've said this in the past. I said this at the Royal Rumble. Speaking of the Seth Goldberg match, I absolutely hate when they kick things off with a world title match. Can you imagine if Hulk Hogan and Andre opened the fucking show? Now, you're going to say, oh, Brad, but that was Hogan, Andre. Yeah, but this is a world title match. We can't be throwing the belt out there first. And this has become a trend. I could be wrong, ever since Edge and Del Rio. And I always I hated that, because Del Rio won the Rumble, and there he is in the opening match. It makes no sense. Can you imagine? Shawn Michaels wins the Royal Rumble, and him and Bret Hart are going to open up WrestleMania 12. No, it's just wrong. You know what I mean here? You just can't have these opening matches. And I know it's not Mania, but it happens at WrestleMania, worst of all. So, on these more minor pay-per-views, and this is not really a minor pay-per-view when you kind of think about it, because it's taking place in Saudi Arabia, which is why I think they put more effort into the Elimination Chamber. At times, you kind of forgot, this is the first time they've had, a regular pay-per-view. You know, this wasn't like their regular show in Saudi Arabia, like Crown Jewel. This was actually like a regular, like, annual event that they put out. So that was like interesting in itself. But yeah, this match was, you know, a pretty standard fare. You know, Goldberg did more in his match with Lashley. A few months back, I kind of see it, like, I already forget like what show that was on where they had that no holds barred street fight match. But you know, you got your pretty standard fare with, you know, spears and, you know, did this match really live up to the hype? I was kind of expecting a bit more, especially after Goldberg's performance with Lashley. I'm not too crazy about it just being finishers and stuff. I mean, you know, have Goldberg do one of his martial arts kicks in there. Could he, you know, get a gorilla press slam going? Something like, I just would like to see just a few little extra things in here. It always kind of feels like the same deal. You know, we finally got the match after 2 years, and like, did it really feel like it was worth the wait? Coming from a pretty big Goldberg fan, you know, but it was decent. It was short. I can't really say I was bored or I wasn't entertained. I just kind of expected a bit more out of this, but you know, what can you do? I mean, Goldberg's no spring chicken. Oh, you know, I can't really hate on the man. You know, for like, he's there for a payday. We know that, and I respect that. I know people, oh, Goldberg this could be someone else. Yeah, like who? You know, but decent enough. I mean, so. You know, not bad, not great, just, you know, good, decent. The women's elimination chamber match, I actually really liked this. We saw Bianca Belair defeating Alexa Bliss, Nikki ASH, which she just looked totally out of place in there, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, and Doudrop. And you know, when I look at the competitors, the entrants in this match, I really say to myself, look at this lineup. Does it really seem, you know, like these are like the big top contenders for the women's title? I mean, we've got Leda on the show. Do we really have any Leda-esque people here? Like, the only people I scan my eyes around the ring and I see like something special in it is really just two. I see Alexa Bliss and I see Bianca Belair. You know, Rhea Ripley, she's all right. Nikki ASH, I mean, you know, seriously, like, if they could at least make her lose that stupid looking mask. Liv Morgan, you know, I don't get the fascination. You know, yes, Liv Morgan is hot. I've said this on a number of occasions. That doesn't mean that she should be a wrestler. You know, have her be a manager, have her be, you know, in a, you know, use her looks to her advantage. I mean, would it be so bad to have a Tori Wilson, Dawn Marie-esque character on the show where she's just there as like a character and she could be, you know, vivacious and just, you know, seducing men on the roster? Yeah, but I guess we can't do that in 2022. It will probably offend somebody without a fucking doubt. The one thing I will say is I was very astounded by the outfits that the girls were wearing. I thought like they had to cover up more, and they were covered up. But you know what I mean? Like, they were all wearing like fucking bodysuits, but like tight ones, and showing off their bodies. And like, actually, I was like, some of these attires actually look better than some of the ugly crap they wear on the show. You know, like, I was actually really liking Rhea Ripley's outfit. Look, she looked better in that, to tell you the truth, than like the unflattering shit that she wears on the normal show. Like, I have seen Rhea Ripley without the stupid haircut she has and the terrible makeup and the slit in her eyebrow and all that shit. And she's actually a very attractive girl. You know, this is why I'm going to go on to say, like, with Ronda Rousey not wearing makeup, I got a feeling I didn't see the reaction that people are going to hate on her for that. But, like, I will tell you, she actually looked, we'll save it, okay? You know, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I'm just saying it really kind of shows that, like, it's too much. The women go for this sort of look and they think it's adding and it's only detracting. But this, I gotta say, like, it went quick. They did not waste time. They weren't marking out. They weren't getting their shit in. It was rapid fire. Like, you know, they were getting in there. They were trying to get the pin. They were trying to get the win. They were trying to get the opportunity to face the champion at Mania. You know, it wasn't, oh, let's hit 1,000 high spots because we're in the chamber, you know, and we're going to forget about everything that was done in about a month anyway. So, you know, or what's a month, a week, 3 days tops, maybe even a single fucking day. I'm just saying, like, does anyone remember any of the chamber matches from the past, you know, how many years? Like, you know, we're talking about in the wrestling juggernauts over on Facebook in our group. We're talking about, like, what's our favorite chamber? And I'm still saying 2002, the first chamber. You know what I'm saying? And people talk about, you know, the chamber from SummerSlam of 2003 with Goldberg dominating. You know, people are talking about the chamber where, you know, Edge picked up the title over John Cena in 2006. I mean, people remember all these chambers from like over a decade ago. So it goes without saying that, you know, they're doing something wrong in these chambers. But here they were actually doing something right. To me, I will, without a fucking doubt, say this was my favorite elimination chamber for the women. They everything just was streamlined. It was to the point. I was a little bit disappointed. Like, I would have liked to see Alexa Bliss wearing something that like Rhea Ripley was wearing. Was she still wearing the fucking, you know, smock like she's gonna do some finger painting shit? I thought she supposedly went to therapy. Like, I saw on Raw what she was wearing. She looked hot, but like, now she went back to wearing the stupid, like, you know, toddler overalls. And like, I'm just like, get away from that shit already. Can we just erase all the memories of her being the Fiend's sidekick and just all that stuff that just went to hell in a handbasket? But, you know, Belair ends up picking up the win in the end, which kind of surprised me. I was really expecting Bliss to win here, since this was her big comeback. But that it was not to be, obviously. So I don't know what they have planned for her in the future. But I kind of found that a bit odd. So yeah, but you know, also Belair picking up Liv Morgan. I know she's super light, but I'm just saying we're talking about Belair. She's a woman, and the fact that she picked up with one hand like Liv Morgan. I mean, this comes of no surprise. Remember when she held Otis on her shoulders, you know, about a year or so ago, and it was super impressive. She's an impressive athlete, without a doubt. You know, Dewdrop in her outfit, man, like, holy shit, like, I mean, this just seems unhealthy to me. I'm going to tell you a difference here. Like, remember I used to talk about Nia Jax, and Nia Jax to me was like sexy, attractive, you know, even though she was a big girl. Because, you know, sometimes certain girls, they do look good with the weight sometimes. Would Nia Jax maybe look better? Yeah, of course. If she lost even like 50 pounds, she'd probably look spectacular. But, you know, you look at Nia Jax, and, you know, Nia, in my opinion, she was really, like, we'll say it, she was beautiful. A really nice face. But, like, Dewdrop here, man, like, the exact opposite. Like, she's just, oof. But I did think that, like, covering her up was a better idea, and seeing, like, the thunder thighs and all that. You know, I'm giving a comparison. I'm not, like, body shaming her or anything like that. I know when I did a video on her a while back, but, like, you know, you see the difference in the body type at, like, Nia Jax. Like, she was a bit tighter. You know, it's just, it looks like Dewdrop is just like having a box of donuts every single night. I mean, you know, it's almost like I don't even want to say anything about Kevin Owens anymore, because when I look at Dewdrop, I'm like, I remember that, like, you know, that's fat, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you never heard me. That's the thing. You never heard me say that about Nia Jax. I never went on and on. There was other people that go on and on about her weight, but I never really did because it never really bothered me that much. You know, and I don't know. It's just it just wasn't really a big deal to me. But Dewdrop, I look at it, I'm just kind of like disturbed. Like, are they not telling her that she should maybe lose weight, or is that maybe too offensive nowadays? Even if you're like, you're in a company where, you know, the visual presentation is basically your job, but whatever. I did like seeing the better outfits. It was sure better than seeing them in the baggy ass t-shirts. Then we got Ronda Rousey and Naomi defeating Sonya Deville and Charlotte. And this was the one arm tied behind the back for Ronda match, or whatever they were calling it. But remember when I compared Naomi and Sonya Deville to like a low quality Austin McMahon feud? I mean, it's not like that's really an original thing, because we've had like Cena versus Bischoff. We've had all these different like feuds between the authority figure and you know, and the top star. Obviously, Naomi's not a top star, and Sonya Deville, by God, is no Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon. But the one arm tied behind the back, for old school fans like myself, you know, I was like, oh shit, they are. So, you know, someone's going back and watching the Attitude Era, because what was the very first encounter for Austin McMahon? It didn't actually turn out to be an actual match, from what I remember. Like, the bell never rung. But the big thing that they roped throughout the show, and this was, if you haven't seen it, go put it on Peacock. It's a phenomenal episode. If you really want to see formatting of a show and just how brilliant Vince Russo is as a writer, go watch that episode, whatever episode it is. It's like from like, I believe it's like May 1990. Yeah, because it was like Dude Love was part of it. Mick Foley. Yeah, he gets like attacked, Austin, before the match even begins with like Dude Love, and I think he has a chair, if I'm remembering correctly. But the stipulation is that he had one arm tied behind his back, and here you go. It's now an actual full-fledged match, and Ronda Rousey was not wearing any makeup during this, and she was wearing her gi, which I actually thought was a really good look for her. Like, I'm just being perfectly honest, I would not mind her wearing this shit. Like, when is the last time you actually seen someone wear a fucking gi into the fucking ring? Like, I actually thought that looked pretty fucking cool, to tell you the truth. Like, I didn't have a problem with that. You know, Ronda is extremely fit. That goes without saying. So, you know, she's obviously not going to. But I thought, like, you know, this is a kind of cool attire. If they could maybe get, like, a sexier looking gi or something like that, maybe that could be a thing. It's an idea. I just think, like, you know, to really reinforce the fact that she's a 6-time black belt, like, this is a thing where I don't understand how people can hate on her. You got to respect this woman. I mean, you've got a lot of pretenders out there. You got people saying Liv Morgan's an athlete. No, this is a fucking athlete. This is why, again, like, why so many people trounce upon Ronda Rousey for whatever reason that may be. They don't like the fact that she was inserted in because she had success in some other form of entertainment, in another sport, you know, in like an actual real sport. I'm just saying, I'm always impressed by her. You know, she said some things in the past that I don't agree with, but like, as far as an athlete, like, she is phenomenal, and she's transferred into the world of wrestling like very well, in my opinion. I mean, this is like, you know, Ken Shamrock levels, like, not as good, because I love Ken Shamrock, and that's still, in my opinion, is like the best crossover ever from MMA. I think that kind of goes without saying, but Ronda has been good, and she has a presence, and thing is, she was not wearing makeup during this match, and I thought when they were flashing back to her in the video package and showing her like Mania with the, like the fucking, looking like a raccoon, just like Shayna Baszler. Where is Shayna, by the way? Last time we saw her was in the Rumble, like, fuck, like, not saying like she looked great or anything like that, but it was pleasant to actually see one of these girls like looking natural and not all like caked on makeup and looking like a fucking clown. Like, honestly, with this, you've got like Naomi, like another really attractive girl, but like they've got her hair like all, braided like weird, and her all this crazy makeup and yellow. Oh, like it's seriously, it's too much. This is not adding to your charisma, because I know that's what it is. Oh, I'm a wrestler. Let me paint my face up with different makeup. I mean, to be quite honest, it almost looks like these girls like don't know how to apply their own makeup. Like, why was it? Like, don't they get a fucking clue from like looking at all the most successful women of the past? Mickie James, Leda, Trish Stratus, Victoria, Molly Holly, Tori Wilson, I mentioned Dawn Marie before, all these fucking girls, Ashley Mazzaro, none of them painted their face up with wild fucking colors and, looked like fucking Barnum and Bailey. Honk, honk, like, I'm just, seriously, I'm not fucking trying to be funny or joking here. I'm saying it looks bad. So, like, maybe, like, Ronda should look at herself here and be like, I don't look bad here. Maybe, like, a little, like, makeup here and there, but, like, especially to reinforce the fact that she's, like, a badass, like, she kind of don't need it. Wearing that gi in there and everything and showing what she's got, and the fact that she kind of competed well with the one arm tie and she adapted well to this setting, I enjoyed this for the most part. I thought it was pretty good. Charlotte kind of stood back. I guess it was supposed, the announcers really did a shit job explaining anything that was going on in this pay-per-view. Really, like, I'm going to be perfectly honest, this was some terrible fucking announcing. And this is exactly the reason why Pat McAfee is the bomb.com and should always be on commentary. But obviously we know he wasn't there on SmackDown either. I guess he was taking care of whatever shit that had to be done for the Super Bowl. Maybe he was interviewing some people. I don't know. But McAfee, by the way, shout out to the phenomenal interview he did with Brock Lesnar. If you have not watched that and you are a Brock Lesnar fan, you are doing yourself a disservice. That is one of the most entertaining interviews I have seen in recent memory. He is a flat out genius when it comes to interviewing people. Such a relaxed and refreshing type of interview. Honestly, he interviews people better than Stone Cold does, or a lot of other fucking wrestlers with podcasts. Very, very good interview. And it seems like a lot of other people over in my Facebook group, the Wrestling Juggernaut, seem to agree. And I'm happy that a lot of other people enjoyed it as well. So this was pretty decent, for what it was. But anyway, the thing that they didn't explain was that Charlotte's like standing on the ring apron. I kind of took it like she didn't want to get involved because it's not worth it, because it's just a tag match and they're going to end up having the match at, Mania anyway. But there's just like no discussion between the announcers about the story that's going on. Like, sell the fucking story. Tell me what's going on. Instead, it's like, there's like no, any consequences for anything that anyone does. McAfee is out there every single time there's a heel on the screen. He's hating on the heel. He's saying how much the heel is a jerk and he don't like this person. He's the only one that gives a damn. What happens, like, when, doesn't Michael Cole have a talk with, like, Corey Graves, or have a talk with Byron Sex Addict and tell them, like, you guys are really shit. You know that? Because, like, McAfee and I are always, like, doing... we're actually telling stories on Friday night. If there's one thing that they get right on SmackDown, it's the commentary. And it's all due to McAfee. McAfee has reinvigorated Cole. Cole was in like a eternal slumber, it seemed like, for the past how many years. And, you know, Cole really needs a good partner. You know, Cole was always like that guy where, you know, you just couldn't get a lot out of him. That was the thing about him. Like, even during the Attitude Era, like, oh my God, when he took over for, you know, Jim Ross on Raw, it was kind of like painful in a way. You know, even seeing SmackDown back in the day, the King can never really get the best out of Cole, but for some reason, when Taz and him sat side by side, they killed it. And same thing with JBL. Like he just had to have the right person with him to really bring about what makes Michael Cole special. But when Michael Cole is with these other like schlops, you know, it's just a schlop fest. It's just boring. It's horrible, to be quite honest. Like, just man, step it up, guys. It's like, this is alarmingly bad for how many years they've been doing this shit, and they're just so drab. They have no idea like how to tell an interesting story, and the story is playing out before your eyes, mind you. Anyway, we've got Drew McIntyre and Madcap Moss in this Falls Count Anywhere match. And holy fucking shit. Like, Madcap Moss takes a reverse Alabama slam and, like, turns his head, like, inward by accident, or maybe it was, like, Drew did it the wrong way. I have said on a number of occasions, that move should be a fucking finisher. I mean, you're taking Hardcore Holly's finisher that, like, no one ever kicked out of. That move was vicious. And when Drew does it, it looks great. But, I mean, like, you're actually reversing it, slamming the person. That's got to be one of the most high-impact, like, face busters I've ever seen. I got to tell you something. When I saw it the first time, it didn't really register with me. But then they showed like a replay of it 2 more times, and each time they did a different angle, it looked worse. And on the last replay, I was like, holy fucking shit. Like, I don't like really, you know, like when I see a dangerous move, you know, people talk about Germans on the back of the neck. Like, yeah, we all know Kurt Angle and all this, but like, I never like wince. No, I actually winced when I saw Madcap take that bump right there. That was some scary shit. I mean, there was flashes of Stone Cold Owen Hart SummerSlam 97 right there. And this actually, to me, it actually sort of looked worse. And, you know, like, I don't even know how good of an idea it was to give him the Future Shock DDT after that. Like, really? Or just, you know, do anything on the back of the head or anywhere near the head area. But I guess, you know, they maybe communicated during the match and it maybe looked worse than what it was. I'm going to go with that. I mean, you know, Drew McIntyre has been doing this for a while, and Madcap, I mean, they put on a good match. You had Corbin helping out, and, you know, we're going to have Corbin and Drew. And, you know, and even though I like these guys, that to me is just like, I don't know. That's a very big disappointing match. Drew McIntyre, who was wrestling for the world title last year, albeit the opening match, but you get my point. I mean, this is like how the guy's rewarded for, you know, kind of carrying the company through 2020 during the pandemic when Brock wasn't there and Roman wasn't there for the beginning of the pandemic. I'm just saying, like, you know, why? And also, like, holy shit, like, swinging his sword. You know, like, I'm just saying, I think the sword is probably one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever seen. And as much as I like Drew McIntyre, and it's not the guy's fault, he's given this sword, he's told to swing it like a buffoon. I mean, are we trying to fucking kill people? Like, I mean, honestly, every single night when I'm watching, I mean, every single night, can you imagine if it was every single night? No, every single time I'm watching SmackDown, he's swinging this broadsword around, and it's like fucking attempted murder. I'm just saying, it's just like, you didn't even see this during the Attitude Era. You know why? Because they didn't show stupid shit like this. Get the sword out of there for fuck's sakes. He's got the sword in his hand as he's doing his finisher, the Claymore. Like, I don't know. I mean, aside from that, I thought this was a good match. Madcap Moss, man, like, this guy, great build. He does what he can with this stupid character they've given him. But it really shows, like, you know, this guy, he's a good wrestler. And he's a good talker. He's just been strapped with a really stupid gimmick. It's the same deal with Corbin. You know, a really, like, you know, good talent that's just, you know, put in the position. But that's like everybody, basically. You've got a lot of talented people on these shows that are just, quite frankly, used like complete garbage. They're given the wrong roles. They're doing things that they don't want to do. You know, and when they are given stuff that they do want to do, and they're doing it well, like with Corbin with the broke-ass Baron Corbin gimmick, they take it away from them in a matter of months. Anyway, we'll move on here. We've got Becky Lynch defeating Leda. I believe it was during this match where Cole made the crack to Corey Graves about, he says, you know, are you mad at me? And Graves goes, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you know, he says, you didn't send me a lovey-dovey text last night. And he's referring to the fact that Corey Graves revealed on Twitter that he fucking sent Vince McMahon, 76-year-old Vince McMahon, a lovey-dovey text that was meant for Carmella. I don't think that Graves has to worry too much because I think McMahon's still in love with Austin Theory, but you get my point. I'm just saying, like, I thought that was a funny line that they threw that in there. They threw that in for the, you know, the smarks, you know. Oh, he referenced something from the internet. But yeah, I thought it was funny because I knew about it. But if you didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, then that's what I'm saying. Like, they're throwing this joke in. And if you don't know what they're talking about, like, why can't they just say, like, oh, come on, that was an accident, Cole. Like, you didn't even say that. So it was actually a bad reaction to it. But I'm sorry, Corey Graves and Byron Sexton just fucking suck on commentary. They're just terrible. No personality. You know, they're not quick-witted. They've got nothing. Compared to McAfee, they're complete, utter garbage. We've got Becky and Leda. This is like the best Becky match I've seen in a while because obviously she was inspired by Leda. Now that we're on the topic, like, what has Cringy Lynch been wearing over the past few weeks on Raw? I'm seeing she's wearing some fucking aristocratic, like, English royalty, like one of those collars, like those ruffled collars. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is she wearing? Like, I mean, what is she going for? I get it. She's supposed to be outrageous and, like, doing it big. She's big time Bex. But sometimes it's just big time stupidity, to be quite honest. Big time, like, you know, just ridiculous. Like, you know, I get it with, you know, she's trying to be like her husband, like Rollins and everything, you know, with the suits and everything. You know, but it's the same thing, like what I gotta say with Rollins. He's not expanding on the character. It hasn't gone beyond the dance and the ha-ha and the suits. Like, there's nothing else to this character, and he could be the living embodiment of the Joker, but he's just not going the whole, you know, not going the whole distance with it, basically. And Becky's just kind of like just wearing weird shit, so she just looks like a weirdo. But I could have, you know, they did fool me with that near fall. I thought Leda was going to win it off the moonsault, but she didn't. But it was a decent match for what it was. It was good. I liked it. It was good seeing Leda back. Leda looked really good in there. Like I said, you know, really like gracefully aging. You know, I don't know. Maybe she's getting Botox or whatever, you know, but she looked good. I'm just saying, like, whatever it is. I know a lot of people like to sit around and say, oh, she got this. And who fuck cares? They look good. They look good. You know, they're not big and fat like a dewdrop over there. So, you know, I'm going to just call it like it is, basically. Look good. She's in shape. She's pretty. That's all that matters. Taker's Hall of Fame video package. I tweeted about this. Awesome. whoever put this together, just, give them a raise, give them a promotion, give them something. This was really good. Coming from someone that, Taker is, I struggle. I want to do a video on my top 10. I honestly don't know where the guy ranks. He's definitely in my top 10, but I don't know if he's like, I don't know. I just know it's Austin, Rock, Hogan, Macho Man, Taker, HBK are kind of neck and neck somewhere there. So it's that's kind of like where I'm at. The thing is, I just don't want to do a cheap ass list where I do like a, slash, I don't want to do that. It's got to just be pure and good. And I have to think about it some more before I do that. But, the thing is, they were playing Said But True in the beginning. And they have played, For Whom the Bell Tolls for Undertaker at WrestleMania 27. They have played Now That We're Dead for WrestleMania 36. Yeah, that's what it was. And now they played Sad But True. And, being a massive Metallica fan, I'm always happy when I hear Metallica on WWE programming. But I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. They're playing Sad But True. And for those that are not like, big, metal enthusiasts or just, music fans, if you didn't know, Sad But True and American Badass share the same riff, basically. It is sampled in American Badass, obviously without Metallica's vocals. Instead, you get Kid Rock. And they're both amazing songs, both classic songs that I hold near and dear to my heart. Big Kid Rock fan, big Metallica fan, love them both. And they perfectly bridged the part of the song for the Kid Rock vocal, and they switched back. It was just masterfully done, like superb editing. Just, just really good. Way better. See, why can't they get the audio right on SmackDown, but they can do so well with shit like this? Because this was really good, and it really just did the Undertaker justice. I was a really big fan of what they did here. So good job to whoever put it together. Then we had the Usos attacking the Viking Raiders, but as they made their entrance, and once again the commentary, like Cole, just like no outrage over what's going on. Oh my God, the Usos just popped out of the crowd. They're attacking the faces, the Viking Raiders. They're stealing their opportunity for the tag titles, and they're like, oh, they're getting the jump on them before the match. If McAfee was there, he'd be going ballistic. He'd be saying, oh, this is not, you know what I mean? Like, just any pride in what you do at all, unless McMahon is in their ear saying, no, sell it. I mean, it's almost like these were just like two just teams with, that no one's a heel, no one's a babyface. No, but it's quite clear who the babyface and the heels are supposed to be, but I don't know. I really wasn't in the mood to see this match anyway, and I think it would have just kind of really just kind of slowed things down a bit, so I'm happy they just kind of skipped over it. And I thought actually when this match wasn't showing up, it was just going to be thrown on the pre-show, but they just didn't have it. So I guess they're probably going to end up, are they going to have it at Mania? Once again, not a very Mania-ish match. Maybe a Mania pre-show match. Then we get our main event, and it's Brock, and he defeats AJ, Austin Theory, Riddle, and Seth Rollins, eliminates them all because, at the beginning of the match, Lashley ends up getting injured, and I kind of like how they did this. Seth Rollins does a buckle bomb style power bomb into the pod wall, and the pod wall caves in, hits Lashley, and Lashley sold this very well. He made like he hit the back of his head on one of the pillars inside the pod, and they claimed that this was like concussion protocol, and they had to take him out. And I kind of like how they did this. They kind of got a way of getting Lashley out of there, so it gives them an excuse to take him out of the proceedings so he doesn't have to get pinned or anything like that. But this, I really liked when just Lesnar came in, because at first it was like, it was going to be, oh yeah, Lesnar's going to come in, the light is going off on the top. They're doing that top-down camera view. And then it lands on Lashley's pod. And I was like, oh, come on. Are they really going to do this? Like, he's not in the match. So why are they going to wait? But they did take a good opportunity to have Lesnar just smash his way out of the pod, comes out, and he just destroys everyone. F5 finishers to everyone who's left. I kind of figured that this was going to happen, especially after Lashley was taken out of it, because, or what I thought was going to happen going into this match is everyone was going to get destroyed and it would just be Lashley and Lesnar at the end. So the last person in there is Austin Theory, and I like how they handled this. They could have just went for a very straightforward, just Brock destroying him, but no, they kind of dragged it out a bit more, but in a good way. We talk about dragging things out in a bad way most of the time, but this was an example of doing it in a good way, where they prolonged it by having Theory try to escape him. He's climbing up the chamber for the first time. Someone's actually trying to get through the fucking chains, and I didn't even know that was humanly possible, but I guess he's like lean enough that he could get through. That Lesnar pulls him back in. They get situated on top of the chamber, and he gives him an F5 and lands on the outside, which is like the somewhat padded part. See, that's the thing that is very PG-ish about the match. Now, I'm all for keeping all the workers safe and everything, but like, remember how it used to be like supposed to be a steel thing on the outside? Now they have mats there that like are supposedly covering up the steel. It just kind of takes away from the effect, but whatever. I thought that was cool, having him thrown off the top, and that ends the match. And that was the thing. This and the women's chamber match, no false finishes, just straight into the point, and it was refreshing. And if you couldn't tell by now, Lesnar is the new champion. So it looks like we are going to have that predicted match of Lashley, Brock, and Roman. Now, they're saying it's going to be champion versus champion, but I'm going to guess that they're going to probably try to insert Lashley in there somehow, since he didn't lose the title. But this is obviously going to be like a unification match. They're not saying it yet, but I will be very surprised if they don't take this golden opportunity to unify those two damn things already. There's no need for a brand split. It's on life support at this point. They've released so many people that they don't have the roster that's so big that they could really, that it makes sense to have one of these brand splits. Back in the day when they had all the talent, from WCW and everything left over, and they needed places to put people, and they wanted to tour more, it made sense. But now they're not doing house shows or anything like that, so it don't really make any sense to have a brand split. So, just put those two things together, and this time, unlike last time, keep them together. Don't, once again, make two other belts. That should have never happened. It should have ended with Orton and Cena, and that should have been it forever with like 2 world titles. Should have never happened, but somehow it happened again. But yeah, anyway, this, to me, I thought this was a pretty damn good pay-per-view. Better than the Rumble, far more entertaining, more thoroughly enjoyable. Like, I thought, like, as a whole, that they really put a good effort into this the whole way around. Like, I like that it was a short length, a normal length for a pay-per-view, the length that almost every pay-per-view used to be back in the day. This even used to be the length of every WrestleMania before WrestleMania 17. So it was really refreshing to kind of go back to this time again. That, we've been shortening the pay-per-views. Some have gone over 3 hours. The Royal Rumble, also another long one. That was like, I think that was like 3.5 hours, whatever the case may be. It's always just too excruciatingly long. That's the problem with most of the pay-per-views. That they're not really bad in terms of quality, but they're bad in terms of sucking the life out of you. And this was the perfect length. This was a very humane length that did not feel like a torture session. And it was a good show. It was entertaining. And I thought it was, well put together. And the matches were entertaining. And the finishes were quite good. And the chamber match with Brock was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed the antics with Austin Theory and Brock. They did a good job with that. And everything else there was nothing really bad on this show. It was just some good stuff, really. So let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And if you're not getting the notifications on my videos, please just come to the channel and check it out and see if you missed anything. Anyway, guys, I will see you next time.